Hi friends, I welcome you all here at TNV Academy. In this session, we are about to discuss the clause 5.1 Leadership and Commitment of International Standard ISO IEC 20001 2018 Information Technology Service Management. In this session, we shall cover all the requirements of clause 5.1 Leadership and Commitment in details along with concerned example for your ease. As the requirement of the clause 5.1 depend upon the requirement of clause 1, scope of standard, I would like to recommend you referring clause 1, scope of ISO 20001 2018, also for better understanding of clause 5.1. So please go through clause 1, scope of this standard, which will indeed help you understanding the documentation requirement at later stages, if any. Let's discuss now about the outcome of this session. After this session, you will be enabled to understand and verify the implementation of the requirement of clause 5.1 of the ISO 20001 2018. You will also learn that how context of the organization can be identified and goals can be achieved through leadership and commitment. Further, you will also have some knowledge of describing the scope and objectives of the Service Management System SMS. Now, let's start with clause 5.1 Leadership and Commitment. The requirements of the clause 5.1 of the standard are: top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to the Service Management System SMS by A. Ensuring that the service management policy and service management objectives are established and are compatible with the strategic direction of the organization. B. Ensuring that the service management plan is created, implemented, and maintained in order to support the service management policy and the achievement of the service management objectives and service requirements. C. Ensuring that appropriate levels of authority are assigned for making decisions related to the SMS and the services. D. Ensuring that what constitutes value for the organization and its customer is determined. E. Ensuring there is control of other parties involved in the service lifecycle. F. Ensuring the integration of the SMS requirements into the organization's business processes. G. Ensuring that the resource needed for the SMS and the services are available. H. Communicating the importance of effective service management, achieving the service management objectives, delivering value, and conforming to the SMS requirements. I. Ensuring that the SMS achieves its intended outcomes. Directing and supporting persons to contribute to the effectiveness of the SMS and the services. K. Promoting continual improvement of the SMS and the services. L. Supporting other relevant management roles to demonstrate their leadership as it applies to their areas of responsibility. Note: reference to business in this document can be interpreted broadly to mean those activities that are core to the purpose of the organization's existence. Let me tell you that what the document requirements for this clause 5.1. If we talk about mandatory documents, there are no mandatory documents to be maintained to meet this requirement. However, the records of internal or external training program can be retained for further analysis in future while improving the policy document. Now, prior to discussing the clause 5.1, let me explain what exactly is leadership and why it is important. Leadership is an ability which involves encouraging a group of individuals to work towards a common goal. In a business setting, this involves leading and guiding staff and colleagues with a strategy or plan to meet the business needs of the company. The role of a leader is vital when taking any new initiative in an organization. Many process improvements fail when leaders do not take active participation and don't lead it from the front. That is why ISO 20001 emphasizes on this clause, which ensures that the leader's role is understood well and they take charge of the service management systems and its results. Another significant reason for the involvement of leadership is to bring the service management system closer to business. Leaders, when they directly get involved in the effectiveness of the SMS, ensure that quality is an essential part of the business and each person takes it as seriously as the leader does. This requires motivation and encouragement to support and improve processes, and no other than a leader can do this efficiently. Additionally, ISO 20000-1 lays a lot of emphasis on risk-based thinking, establishing internal, external issues, requirement of interested parties, and planning the SMS around it. That makes it important for the top management to be involved in all stages of establishing and maintaining the SMS. Now, let's start clause 5.1, leadership and commitment. Service management system execution cannot be effective without leadership commitment towards it. Leadership needs to believe in the system themselves. Only then they can confirm that their team members clearly understand its importance and benefits. Let me explain the guidelines defined under clause 5.1 on the role of the top management is leading this initiative. The standard says that top management shall take accountability and responsibility for the effectiveness of the service management system and ensure that it meets its purpose. Based on the context and strategic direction of the organization, a standard ensures that service management policies and service management objectives are established for the service management system SMS. This clause 5.1 ensures that appropriate level of authority are assigned for making decisions related to the SMS and the services. This also confirms that the service management system works together with the organization's business processes. This will, in turn, ensure that the requirements of the consumer are met, and this improves customer experience. Clause 5.1 endorses process approach, where commitment and understanding on the principle of SMS at top management level is required, so that they absorb these principles in their functioning and encourage use of practices across the organization. This clause 5.1 communicates the importance of conforming to the service management system and its requirement and provides adequate resource needed for the service management system. According to this clause 5.1 leadership and commitment, top management needs to generate effective organizational structure and provide accurate internal environment that inspires people towards achievement of all goals and objectives of the organizations. This clause 5.1 defines that top management should engage, direct, and support persons to contribute to the effectiveness of the service management system. This requires top management's direct involvement in all stages of the SMS, including planning, reviewing the outcomes, and suggesting improvements. The top management needs to show commitment towards processes to motivate others also to implement and improve processes. Clause 5.1 leadership and commitment defines that top management should demonstrate to promote a culture of process improvements. Leaders should take initiative to develop new models and introduce new tools to improve efficiency and productivity. This clause 5.1 also covers supporting other relevant management roles to ensure that all roles as required for effective implementation of SMS are available in the organization. Clause 5.1 says that top management should maintain a consistent attention on customer requirements, meeting of regulatory or statutory requirements, and enhancing customer satisfaction. Meeting of regulatory or statutory requirements and enhancing customer satisfaction. All the requirements shall be determined and met and conforming products or service provided to the customers. According to clause 5.1, top management should determine and address any risks that may hamper an organization's ability to provide conforming products, services, or which may have a negative effect on customer satisfaction. So friends, this is all about the clause 5.1 leadership and commitment under the clause 5 leadership of the ISO 20000-1 2018 standard. Now, coming to an important aspect of standard, practice writing non-conformity under this clause. I would explain you the process of writing non-conformities. First of all, what exactly is non-conformity? Non-conformity refers that the organization is not fulfilling of the requirements of one or more provisions of the clause of the ISO 20000-1 2018. Non-conformances are most commonly uncovered during verification, inspection, testing activities. If your test findings reveal misalignment in your requirements, that is a non-conformance. Non-conformity may be of two types: minor nonconformity and major nonconformity. A minor nonconformity is the failure to confirm a requirement that, in the auditor's opinion, and there is no failure of the service management system. It may be a single observed lapse or isolated incident where there is a minimal risk of non-conforming product being released to the customer. A major non-conformity would be the total breakdown of the management system or one of its processes, or the failure to address a key ISO 20000-1 2018 requirement. Now, let me explain how to write an effective non-conformance report. To achieve the main goal of an effective non-conformance report, you should follow some guidelines which I am describing in details now. 1. You should seek and record evidence that top management is taking a hands-on approach to the management of the SMS. Be prepared to constructively challenge top management's commitment to quality management principles and show their commitment in ISO. Second, auditing this tier of management is likely to be a new experience for many people. So, it is important that you have a good understanding of management activities in order to effectively engage with them. 3. If it is evident that top management is not involved with the service management system and ISO standards, a major conformance is likely. It's a recommendation that an auditor should look for evidence of management commitment. During certification audits, auditors should look for evidence that top management has a hands-on approach to the management of their SMS during interviews and auditing other requirements. Example, context of the organization, policies and objectives, management review minutes, resources, etc. You can find the evidence of top management involved in business strategy plans and meetings, environmental goals and communications, information provided on the organization's website, annual reports, management meeting minutes, other documented information. Management involvement must now be demonstrated and cannot be simply confined to annual management reviews. During internal audits, auditors should ensure that they are well prepared to interview the top management in respect of their commitment to the SMS. A good understanding of management-related processes and language used by top management can be helpful to engage with management on a range of concerns. I hope this guideline will help you in writing an effective non-conformity report in future. Now, it is important here to discuss about the common mistakes made by auditors while ISO audits. Putting questions which are irrelevant for the organization. Sometimes auditors start thinking for the options while auditors need to understand the client process and to decide if the client can achieve the result of the management standard system through their own process. Auditors start consulting the client, which is out of the reach of the auditing. Auditors start expecting those documents and records in clause wherein this may not be mandatory. Auditors impose their opinion without facts. Auditors report finding but don't provide evidence. Auditors tick off checklist without considering the bigger picture. Auditors believe the paperwork and ignore the facts. Auditors feel obliged to find errors. Auditors allow cost cutting to staff the audit. It is highly recommended that being an auditor, you should avoid these common mistakes while doing ISO audit to make it successfully implemented. So friends, now we have reached at the end of this session. I hope that you have an idea about clause 5.1, leadership and commitment of ISO IEC 20000-1 2018. I sincerely thank you all for your interest and attention. Thanks and best wishes.